What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the July 28th episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. Like, share, comment, subscribe, follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And before I begin, also hit those notifications somewhere up here or something like that. Tonight's Impact Wrestling episode. Man, it's a lot for me to cover. I will say this. There was some good things about this. It wasn't too bad, but it was, as far as pacing, just the enthusiasm, the what I've mentioned before on previous Impact Wrestling reviews in the past, just the consistency, the just the continuity, the fluidity, just everything, just like, man, it's flowing. And tonight's episode, it just felt like something, I don't want to say was missing, but it feels like they should be going to that next level, and it feels like they're just going in a circle creatively. I don't want to say trying to figure out the next level, but just it just feels like they're going in a circle, because there's a few storylines that was going on here that I was like, man, I wonder where this is going. And then I go on social media, and a few other people are like, oh God, I hope this isn't leading to another match of this, another this. And once you get into the point of where your fan base is like, oh God, I hope this doesn't lead to another match like this, that's when it's like, man, this is different from the Impact Wrestling that we were watching just a few weeks ago. And for those of you who continuously watch my Impact Wrestling reviews, forgive me. Usually on Thursdays I am resting. If you see this brace here, I have an issue with my shoulder, so I do have it in a sling. So that's one of the reasons why it's been somewhat difficult for me to do an Impact Wrestling review show, because I'm just trying to rest. I don't want to push myself hard and stuff like that, so just resting myself so that way I'm 100% so I can give you guys even more content. All right, guys. So just to give you the results and just the match results and stuff like that before I get into the review. So you had Eddie Edwards and Ace Austin. They were in the opening match. Eddie Edwards won. You had Laredo Kid and Trey Miguel defeating Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. I'll get into that match. You had Tiffany Nieves. Yes, Tiffany Nieves and Jada Stone. This was my first time seeing them. I enjoyed their match. So Tiffany Nieves, she defeated Jada Stone. Then you had Josh Alexander defeat Shira. And then in the main event, which was a fantastic main event, I loved it. You had Rich Swann versus Kushida. That was a quality match. So those were the results. But, man, this show, oh, man, how do I put it, man? I'm slightly disappointed that there were parts of this show where it just felt like, uh-oh, I hope they're not going back into the old habits, because you guys know from my reviews, I've been saying it since the beginning of January till about a few weeks ago. I'm like, man, this is a very consistent show. It's a quality show. The stories make sense. It's not lacking anything. There's a lot of enthusiasm, anticipation, optimism. The question's like, I wonder what's going to happen next week, man. This is going to be interesting. Tonight's episode was lacking somewhat those things that I mentioned. So let's start with the first match. So you had, open the show, you had a recap of Alex Shelley, Chris Sabian, Kushida coming in last week and helping them during the Cody Deaner and Joe Doran interfering from last week. So the first match was Eddie Edwards with Kenny King versus Ace Austin and Chris Bay from Bullet Club. This match was okay. Halfway through the match, it really picked up. But for the most part, I was surprised that they started off with this match, because it was just the pacing of it was so different from the previous opening matches that they've had on Impact Wrestling. That was just intense, very physical, just a nice way to get the show started. Like, oh man, okay, I want to get in here. This match, man. And I enjoy Eddie Edwards and Ace Austin, but man, this match did not do it for me. It was just something about that opening match that just like, okay. And Ace Austin in this match, normally in his matches, he's always, he showcases his athleticism, his technical skills, and just boom, 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 boom. But this match, it was just very, it was mostly brawling and striking, which I think that's what threw me off. I was like, oh, okay, it's all right. There was a point in the match where the ref ejected both Chris Bay and Kenny King. Then Ace Austin, before they left, he did a flip onto Kenny King, which he was hurting, and Chris Bay was fighting him off in the back. Then eventually Eddie Edwards did a front driver, I believe that was. He picks up the win, like I said. The opening match, this match could have been later in the card. Like, there were certain things that they could have adjusted, but I don't know. It was just really weird with this match. I wasn't taken aback. I was just like, man, this is kind of interesting how this is playing out. All right. Then they cut back to the commentary team. Then you had a backstage segment with Heath Slater talking about Honor No More, and he's going to hit every one of them with a wake-up call. Then we cut to a Ric Flair commercial. Then they recap last week with Josh Alexander and Shira fighting in the back. Then you get a backstage segment with Josh Alexander getting interrupted by Alex Shelley. Then you have Laredo Kid and Trey Miguel versus Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. Impact Wrestling was doing so good by not having hokey stuff on their show, and this was very hokey. I did not like this. I like the tag team of Laredo Kid and Trey Miguel, but watching Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice wrestle them, like, this was just so damn hokey. How do I say this? It wasn't so much because Johnny Swinger, like, Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice, they have their own thing. There's times that, I do like, it's like, okay, it's okay, it's short spurts. But this was this was a mismatch. Like, this should not have been a match on Impact Television, because you just had two contrasting tag teams that they're not in a feud. They're Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger are more like a comedy tag team, and you have Trey Miguel and Laredo Kid, which are fighting in the X division. They have these great competitive, intense matches, and just that combination, like, it just didn't mesh, and it was a very quick match, which I was like, thank God, because it really didn't. That match really didn't do anything for all four men. Of course, during the match, Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice, they put these masks on, like, oh, we're twins, but it just really didn't, like, nobody, like, for me, watching it and just the way it was presented, like, nobody gained anything. It was just like, all right, I don't want to see these guys wrestle again. Like, I want to see Trey Miguel and Laredo Kid wrestle, like, Mike Bailey and, oh my God, who else is in that freaking X division? Like Alan Angels, bring him back. Like, have that tag team where it's like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, this really didn't go anywhere. Then they cut back to earlier tonight, Vincent losing to Gujar because of a Heath Slater video that played. Then we get another backstage segment with Brian Myers and Gujar, and they're discussing basically the Digital Media Championship. And Crazy Steve and Black Taurus are talking, and this was actually pretty funny. This I have to give them credit. Like, this was pretty funny. the way this was executed. So Brian Myers is trying to get out of a way of defending the Digital Media Championship. He's like, no. We don't just make matches right away. Like Scott D'Amore, he has to give the okay, and we're not gonna do this. And he walks through, and he's like, oh yeah, match approved, and keeps walking. Like that was funny. I like that. That was cool. Very funny, to the point. Like that was cool. Then we get the match between Tiffany Nieves and Jada Stone. Jada Stone's very athletic in this match. She tried to do a spider. Actually, she did a spider counter, almost like Bray Wyatt, where he goes back and everything, which I really thought was cool. She attempted a split leg moonsault, but in the end, Tiffany Nieves defeated Jada Stone. This was a pretty decent match. Again, this match, I don't know why this wasn't on their pre-show. It was just weird. Like, I liked the match, but it was just the placement. Like, man, okay, like, all right. Mind you, Mia Yim was not wrestling tonight. Deonna Purrazzo wasn't wrestling tonight. Giselle Shaw wasn't wrestling tonight. Jordan Grace wasn't wrestling tonight. Chelsea Green wasn't wrestling tonight. Alicia Edwards wasn't wrestling tonight. Taya and Rosemary weren't wrestling tonight. Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rain weren't wrestling tonight. So you just, for whatever reason, they were not wrestling tonight. Of course, these shows are pre-taped, so I give them that. But I don't know. This was just really like, okay. But I really like that they showcased the other side of it. I really like that they showcased them. Tiffany Nieves and Jada Stone, they do have a great look. I won't be surprised if they use them more on Impact Wrestling. Yeah, they really had a really good look. So after the match, Tiffany Nieves, she's doing her thing. Lights go off. Screen comes up. And we get the pretty much debut of Killer Kelly. Oh my goodness. She kicks and puts Jada Stone or Tiffany Nieves in this weird inverted sleeper hold, which was, I haven't seen anything like that in a while. That was badass. And then she does a front drop on Jada Stone. Man, she looks good. I can't wait to see her versus Masha Slamovich, because, man, just from her just annihilating these two knockouts, like, it's like, okay, she means business. Like, this is going to be interesting. And, man, Killer Kelly debuting just adds more depth to the Impact Wrestling's women's division. I'm really interested and intrigued to see how this plays out, who she wrestles first, and just how they use her, because, man, she has a look, and just, she didn't say anything. She just has this, like, very cerebral look, like this smile, like, I'm happy, but no, I'm going to kick your teeth in, and I'm going to make you tap, and I'm going to enjoy it. Like, that type of smile, and I'm just like, ooh, man, that's so good. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I really like that, because you debut a new knockout into your deep knockouts division, which is not bad because it's already deep. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's if Mia Yim wins the knockouts championship next month and there's like a shift or something. I don't know, man. It is what it is. So then we get a video package of Violent by Design, and Eric Young mentions, be prepared for the unseen, and first we're going to go after the Motor City Machine Guns, and then Kushida. And mind you, he's talking on a staircase, and you have Cody Deaner on a staircase, and it's kind of like the staircase that goes like this and then goes around like that. So one's facing this way and the other one's facing that way. There you go. It got to the point. For me, up until this point, I'm just like, okay, man, they kind of gotta switch things up now. Like, just what I used yesterday for AEW Dynamite's review that like yesterday, it felt like they were committed to it was like a creatively determined to go to a destination. And with Impact Wrestling, it did feel like they were just, man, they were like this past 6-7 months, they've been clicking, but this episode, I'm just like, man, it's like we already had Honor No More for, since April? Almost April? We've had the Bullet Club there since January. Violent by Design's been there for... So I don't know how long they're going to keep these factions up, but it does feel like Impact is getting to the point where, on the men's side, you got to freshen things up. The women's side, the Knockouts division is the backbone of Impact Wrestling, and it just feels like they really need to shuffle and like really add some more depth to the men's side of their roster. And honestly, if whatever happens with Jonathan Gresham in AEW, if he is released, like, he should go to Impact Wrestling because he's needed there, and he would be a great asset for Impact Wrestling if he goes there and if that happens. Then we get a video package of Chris Sabin. Basically, this is a video package hyping up Alex Shelley's title match against Josh Alexander at Emergence, and you get comments from Chris Sabin, Scott D'Amore, Kushida, Jimmy Jacobs, Sami Callihan, and then you get comments from Johnny Gargano. Yes, Johnny Gargano, free agent, who was recently in WWE's NXT. Yes, he gave comments on Alex Shelley. You really can't read too much into it because, let's face it, like, AEW stars gave video tributes to John Cena, so there's always these video things. They're just like, go ahead. So you really can't say, oh, he's going to Impact or anything. But it was cool to see. It was like, oh, Johnny Gargano's on Impact Wrestling television in this video package. All right, cool. Then you have a match between Shera and Josh Alexander. And I was really anticipating this match to be a little bit longer. And it was like kind of short, considering how they've had Shera be very dominant. But, I mean, there's basically power. It wasn't anything technical or anything like that. There was a point where Josh Alexander did a crossbody to the back while Shera was sitting on the apron, which I was like, oh crap, that's really cool. Then you had Raj interfere, and that led to Josh Alexander performing an ankle lock. 1, 2, 3. Josh Alexander wins. Which, again, this match wasn't anything special. Mind you, I don't mean that in a negative way. It just wasn't anything that was like, ooh, man, this is crazy. Like, it put over Josh. It really didn't, for me, it didn't do anything for Shera. Then you get a backstage segment with Moose, and the interviewer is basically implying, like, okay, are you and Macklin an alliance? And he's like, there's no alliance, and I'm going to prove it to you. So you get that. Then you get a backstage segment of Honor No More. They're in the back, and they're talking about Impact Wrestling's trying to screw us, which they've been saying this since they've begun there. I think a lot of people, including myself, are like, okay, where is this Honor No More faction going? And hopefully we get some type of answers at Emergence, depending on what came later after this segment. But yeah, let's go take it. Then they run into Scott D'Amore, and they're talking and everything, and then the guys run out. They're like, where's Mike Bennett? And he says this comment to Eddie Edwards, and it was, being the leader comes with problems. And when he said that, I'm like, ooh, okay, we got to pay attention to that. And that's one thing I do like and I appreciate of Scott D'Amore, that when he says things, you really got to pay attention to it because it's a clue to something that is coming. And it isn't something that's predictable, or obviously predictable, but it's something like, okay, man, it could go here, it could go here, it could go here. And usually, if you have multiple predictions, when he does that, it's going to be one of your predictions. Like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That was really I like that. Then you had a commercial with Ric Flair's last match. They actually gave the rundown. That's going to be a dope event, man. Then you had a backstage segment with Chelsea and Deanna. They're throwing a big party. Jessica Havoc comes in. Then she's like, I like to party. Why am I on the invite list? And then you have Tay and Rosemary. Where you at? You don't want to go there, blah, blah, blah. And then Jessica leaves and they're doing that. And that was basically it. Then you had a promo from Raj. I think it was Raj Singh, yeah. He's like, I'm not leaving till there's justice. Lights go out. Lights come back on. It's Sami Callihan. He just beats the crap out of him. Sami says, I don't care if you're, if Macklin and Moose are working together. You have a date with the Death Machine. That was the whole segment. Then you have another Ric Flair moment. So mind you, from the Shira match to the main event, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You had 5 backstage segments in between the Shira Josh Alexander match and the main event. That's one thing the previous Impact Wrestlings didn't have that. Like most of the Impact Wrestlings this past year, since January, have been pretty balanced as far as backstage segments, match, in-ring, like just there was a balance. But this, I was like, man, this is, okay. So you get the Ric Flair moment of the week, which is funny because it was him and Jay Lethal when Jay Lethal was imitating Ric Flair, which that never gets old. That's freaking hilarious. Then you have Honor No More with Scott D'Amore backstage because, let me backtrack. So before this, you had Mia Yim and she basically saying, I can still go. I'm better than I was before. And then they have technical difficulties. They cut to Tom Hannafin and Matthew Raywalt, and the screen goes, all colors. It's like, oh, technical difficulty, stand by. Then they come back and Scott D'Amore's running to the back and he sees Honor No More by the production truck. He's like, hey, what are you guys doing? He's screaming. And they come back and he's just screaming at him. He's like, you know what? I got something for you. You guys want a title shot? You guys want a title shot? You know what? Back in the day, Jim Cornette didn't like me and Team Cannon. And he gave us an ultimatum that either we win and we stay together, or we lose and we have to disband. So, at Emergence, he makes this match of Honor No More and Bullet Club. And if Honor No More does not win, they're disbanded. Again, another key thing that Scott D'Amore does. And I'm really intrigued by this because it's like, okay, are they going to disband, and are some of those guys going to the new Ring of Honor? So that's pretty interesting because we did see Vincent at Death Before Dishonor. So it's making me think like, where is this going to go? This is going to be interesting. That I enjoyed that part. Like that was some good wrestling TV. That whole segment with Scott D'Amore and Honor No More by the production trucks. I really liked that. That was really good TV. Then we get the main event. Rich Swann, Kushida. Love this match. This was really great. I think what hurt this match was the 5 backstage segments that they did in between this match and the Shira and Josh Alexander match. And just the matches before, and just how it was just, you really didn't have that many, like, there was literally, now that I look at it, there was only one knockouts match on this show, and it's just like, it's like you guys are known for like your knockouts division being like the backbone of your company. You didn't have most of them there, and I think that's one of the things that maybe creatively they want to give it a break or something, but like try to do it in a way where you give them a break, but like you still like have at least 2 women's matches, because this was, it was like, and once you got to the Rich Swann Kushida match, it was just like, all right, man, like, man, okay, see where this goes. Like, I don't anticipate anybody coming out. It's like, all right. But man, this was a really good match. There was Swann, Kushida chants. This match basically was very technical and athletic, and there was every type of kicks. Like, this was the match of kicks, whether it was reversals, counters, kicks on the top rope, kicks on the apron, flipping, and like kicks galore, man. Not in a bad way, but it was just in every placement. That's what it basically was. But man, this is a really good match. There was a point where Kushida performed a Kimura lock flip off the top rope, which means he had the Kimura lock on Rich Swann while he was on the top rope, and then he flipped with him in the hold and kept it in, which I thought was insane. He wound up, Rich Swann wound up tapping out. Kushida wins, and nobody comes out and think that's just how Impact Wrestling ended. So, yeah, this show really, it disappointed me for the fact that Impact Wrestling has been so consistent and so just having so much enthusiasm and fun and just like the pacing, boom, boom, boom. And today's episode just did like, it was concerning in some ways. I think for me, you know, with all the news with the changes in WWE and then what we've seen yesterday on AEW Dynamite with their young wrestlers, you know, you have all this momentum from these companies, and you come tonight and it's just like, and, you know, hopefully, again, I know the show is taped, you know, a week before, but hopefully Impact Wrestling steps up their momentum, because there is a momentum in professional wrestling right now, especially with WWE and AEW, and you're getting it with New Japan with the G1 Climax 32, so you got that momentum. So like there's some momentum going, especially with Ric Flair's last match, where you have all these companies coming together to celebrate Ric Flair's last match. So you had this momentum, and just what I saw tonight, like it just did not have that momentum that's currently spreading in professional wrestling. Granted, this was taped weeks prior, but hopefully Impact Wrestling gets their momentum going, because things are about to get really interesting in professional wrestling. And after this Saturday at SummerSlam, and we'll just see what happens with that and just how things take off. But things are about to get interesting. So the last thing I want is to Impact Wrestling to be go back to old ways that really fans like complained about, and you know, to go before what they were doing before January of this year, where it was just like one or two things were good, and it was like so hopefully next week is a lot better. We see more of the knockouts division. Like, yeah, we didn't even see Masha Slamovich. Like, there's a lot of the knockouts like were not in matches. Like I said, it was only one knockouts match, and it was basically two knockouts to, you know, basically set up the arrival of the debut of Killer Kelly, which she looked fantastic. But yeah, this was interesting, man. This was an interesting match or show. I really don't know what to say, man. It was it didn't have the enthusiasm. It didn't have the like, ooh, man, that's interesting. I wonder what's gonna happen next week. Like, it really didn't have that. And you know, you guys know, like, the momentum like I said, the momentum right now in professional wrestling, it's changed, and there's something brewing, and it's like, okay, we know something's gonna happen a month from now. Not saying debuts and all that. It's just creatively, you know, things are about to pick up. That's the correct way of saying it. Like, creatively, things are gonna pick up in professional wrestling, and this episode just really felt It didn't feel 2022. It felt 2021. So hopefully they change that. But out of this whole show, check out the Rich Swann Kushida match. That was a fantastic match. I just wish the matches before it had a lot more enthusiasm, intensity, physicality, just that grit. Like, ooh, okay, man, this is that. I don't know. Maybe it's because one of their storylines, the Honorable Bullet Club storyline, is kind of running its course. It's like every week you're seeing it, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like, okay, this is really not. Where's this going? Because we've had, major matches that's happened on pay-per-views and Impact Wrestling Plus. So it's like, all right, where's this going? But yeah, the Rich Swann Kushida match, excellent. Killer Kelly, can't wait to see her in action on Impact Wrestling against those knockouts in the knockouts division, because that's going to be some great, great matches. But overall, man, this was a show that, if I didn't review it, like, I don't know, man. This was, I could say, like, this was kind of a missable show. And it hurts me to say that, but the reality of it, and the way the pacing, the enthusiasm, it just didn't, like, the previous Impact Wrestling episodes this year, like, you just, oh man, okay, man, this is really good. Like, this episode just really did not have that, and hopefully next week is different. I hope it's different from next week, but we'll see. But yeah, this is my review for the July 28th episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, oh man, we got a lot of wrestling this weekend. Looking forward to it. Ric Flair's last match, SummerSlam, New Japan. We got, what is it? SmackDown, Rampage, that whole thing. So I'm looking forward to it. So with that, stop fighting over wrestling. Enjoy it.